Hi there to all of you viewers of Equinoxe Television. Welcome back from the weekend. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of the news. We begin right away with our major stories tonight. The Archbishop of the Douala Archdiocese once again criticizes the electoral process in Cameroon. His Grace Samuel Kleda, in a recent interview, insists that with the present dispensation of elections, Cameroon Elecam and Electoral Code, there can't exist any free and fair elections in this country. We'll tell you more in just a moment. Plus, the government of Cameroon plans to focus on the non-oil sector to drive the country's economy in the year 2025, according to the proposed state budget currently scrutinized by the Parliament. Priority will be on infrastructure, job creation, agricultural growth, and manufacturing. The proposed budget stands at about 7 billion francs CFA. Details of the stories and more in this news edition. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We begin with this human interest story here in the city of Douala. Several families in Bepanda, Monaco in Douala are now homeless and stranded after flames ravaged their houses. That was last evening. The contents of at least 10 houses were razed by the fire, which origin is still unknown. No one died except for enormous material damage caused on property and the electricity supply line in the neighborhood. Innocent Ase now takes us to Bepanda, Monaco 1 day after the incident.
Ashes, steel and aluminium materials are what could be found on the scene of the fire incident that occurred Sunday evening at the Monaco Bepanda neighborhoods in Douala.
Boy, the fire plenty.
Actually, I was inside the house. We were busy, my mom, my siblings. They would just heard the neighbor shouting, fire, fire. Said everybody just came out now. Then what I saw was very terrible. It's not as if it was a small fire. It took all those houses, as you can see. Then we started pouring sand. At one instant, I could no longer enter inside there because the heat was too much. We took water, we started pouring water. One time the gas bottle now. We pouring sand. If not, this, the firefighters, they came here. They just started pouring water. A few minutes, they said water is finished. And we told them, they called the rescue now for other people to come again. But nothing. We were the one that off the fire completely.
While there early Monday, smoke could still be seen from the consumed items, and fortunate neighbors cleaning a section of their house partially touched. Some victims gathering some remains they think could still be useful somehow. Though a tough night for the victims, Bepanda Monaco residents suffered the consequences of the fire with them. They passed the night without electricity and could spend several days in blackout due to the immense impact the fire had on the electricity supply line.
But you know, came here now, they don't even call the coin. If not, all this quarter would have been down. And they offer the transformer, yeah. So no coin was passing, which helped also.
While the victims in frustration and pain worry on how to restart life, Monaco inhabitants remain worried on when electric energy will be reinstalled. The cause of the fire incident that plunged everyone in the neighborhoods in darkness is still not known. Short circuit is mostly at the origin of fire incidents in the cosmopolitan city of Douala, with haphazard connection of electric cables.
Over to Bamenda in the northwest region, fire incidents have been recurrent lately, with fluctuating electricity supply and unsafe wiring system being some of the main causes. The Army Rescue Unit has launched a campaign to prevent further fire incidents as businesses and residents struggle to recover from the destruction. Stella now tells us more from Bamenda.
Bamenda has seen its fair share of fire disasters, many blamed on fluctuating electricity supply and substandard wiring. These haphazard installations found in almost every neighborhood are accidents waiting to happen, even as victims are yet to recover from previous incidents.
Many traders have lost their goods in the market. Some have died as a result of stress. So I really feel it is really a horrible situation.
According to the Army Rescue Unit in Bamenda, 38 fire disasters were recorded between January and November this year. This alarming figure has prompted increased preventive actions.
This past month, we've got a lot of fire break out. In the hierarchy, have deemed it necessary to send us to go to the field to sensitize the Bamenda population concerning fire breakout. How to prevent so that there should be no fire breakout. What to do before, within, and after.
This sensitization campaign has taken the Army Rescue Unit to high-risk areas like travel agencies, public businesses, and the Bamenda main market, where fire reduced a section of the market to ashes. Although the scars of past incidents linger, business owners engaged in protecting their businesses through the lessons learned.
The traders have got first-hand information on how to use their appliances to put off their lights. They also sensitize them in tune of what they are doing in their homes.
The first measure I will do is to add the number of fire extinguishers. Then secondly, to show some of the workers how to use the fire extinguisher.
Preventing fire disasters in Bamenda requires a collective effort. The recent wave of sensitization may be the first step towards lasting change, although many opine that fire and other disaster management techniques should be incorporated in the designing of new structures.
Meantime, a land struggle in Misolewan, a village in the Dibamba subdivision, has forced or causes the Minister of Land Tenure to send a team to carry out an investigation, notwithstanding an injunction order from the Senior Divisional Officer of the Sanaga Maritime Division. One of those involved in the land saga has continued working, causing a tussle between the two parties. Sumajikan Gabriel tells us more.
A 6-hectare land in Misolewan in the Dibamba of the Sanaga Maritime Division is causing a rift between two different personalities. The piece of land, initially occupied by a Chinese enterprise, is being contested by the Lembes family, who claim to be owners of the land. We went to the minister telling him that he gave our land to a Chinese company, and on the basis of the report, the minister ordered his divisional representatives to remove the 6 hectares of land, and the procedure of matriculation continues. After the family successfully followed the due procedure to get the land title, a third party introduced itself into the matter, claiming to be the owner. He removed an envelope and gave me. Then I told him that my parents didn't bring me up that way. He said it's for what he destroyed, and I told him I was going to reflect and get back to him. Notwithstanding the complaints dropped against him in court, the man continued to go about with his construction. The same man continued to destroy our properties, and we gave him a warning to stop work through the Senior Divisional Officer of the Sanaga Maritime, but he didn't reply. The man in question is well known in Misole, and to have first-hand information about the case at the chief's palace, they confirmed knowing the problem, but the chief, who was recently enthroned, didn't give us more details. We then met with the who has been as the interim for the past 5 years, and he told us the Lembes family is the owner of the piece of land. Happy came to Misole through a lawyer and came in as a financer. For us to get our land titles, we took guys who are well-to-be, who can help us get the land titles. That is how he showed himself up. Even though the Lembes family has all documents in their hands, gaining access into the land still remains a difficult one.
Now let's talk politics. The Archbishop of the Douala Archdiocese, we told you in the headlines, has raised serious concerns about the electoral system in Cameroon. Speaking to the Catholic television Veritas, His Grace Samuel Cleda says if the right thing is not done, failure has already begun before it starts established, even before it starts, referring to the next elections in Cameroon. Meantime, His Grace Samuel Cleda tells leaders who do not meet the aspirations of Cameroonians to resign. Babila Jonathan has greater details.
Avant même d'organiser, n'est-ce pas, d'aller au vote.
Archbishop Samuel Cleda decries what he qualifies as a tailored electoral system designed to produce doctored election results in Cameroon.
La démocratie au Cameroun, elle existe de nom.
To him, democracy in Cameroon is just a word that is not practiced.
En réalité, elle n'existe pas.
The Archbishop of the Douala Metropolitan Archdiocese of the Roman Catholic Church has called for a revision of the electoral code to ensure a level ground for all political actors.
Qui organise les élections? qu'on définisse clairement cela.
His Grace Samuel Kleda says the electoral mechanism of the country is not impartial and that should be corrected to guarantee a free, fair and democratic election in 2025 when Cameroonians go to the polls to vote the President of the Republic and in 2026 for the municipal and legislative elections.
Que leur voix soit respectée.
The people's voices should be respected. Citizens should express themselves freely without threat. He thinks if the votes of Cameroonians are not respected and the electoral process is characterized by threat, the next elections will be a sham.
Que tous les candidats qui se présentent aient la même chance de gagner les élections.
And with regards to the poor and precarious living conditions of many Cameroonians, His Grace Samuel Kleda has urged leaders who he says do no longer meet the aspirations of the people to step down.
Ils doivent quitter le pouvoir.
And still in politics, the government of Cameroon plans to focus on the non-oil sector to drive the country's economy in the year 2025, according to the proposed state budget currently scrutinized by Parliament. Priority will be on infrastructure, job creation, agricultural growth, and also manufacturing. The proposed budget stands at about 7,250 million francs CFA. For me, Armstrong Sander reports.
The 2025 state budget of Cameroon, as proposed and presented to Parliament by the government, includes two primary components. The general budget, projected at 7,250.8 billion francs CFA, with an increase of 38.3 billion francs CFA from 2024, and the special appropriation account, estimated at 66.9 billion francs CFA, slightly up by 1.3 billion francs CFA compared to 2024. This slight overall growth reflects the government's aim to stabilize public finances by fostering targeted investment. The budget assumes that Cameroon's economic growth will improve from 3.8% in 2024 to 4.1% in 2025, driven primarily by the non-oil sector, which is expected to grow by 4.3%. The oil sector remains in decline, with a projected contraction of minus 1.0% in 2025, following an estimated minus 2.6% in 2024. To compensate, Cameroon plans to focus on public investment, with the investment budget rising to 1,863.1 billion francs CFA, up by 259 billion francs CFA from 2024. Cameroon's proposed budget for 2025 reflects a cautious yet optimistic approach to economic management. While challenges such as declining oil revenue persist, the government's emphasis on non-oil sector growth and increased public investment could provide the foundation for long-term economic stability and development. As Parliament reviews the proposal, the success of the budget will depend on effective implementation, fiscal discipline, and the ability to navigate the complex dynamics of both domestic and global economic conditions.
We will be talking more on that in the second part of the news. Now in news out of Cameroon, in Guinea, 56 people have died and others injured in a stampede which occurred during a soccer game, while in Senegal, authorities are demanding justice from France for victims of the Thiaroye massacre. This message was reiterated on the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the massacre of African soldiers who fought during the World War II. A roundup of these stories with our reporter Lucy Lingu is here.
At least 56 people have lost their lives following violent confrontations during a football match that caused a stampede in Zérékoré, Guinea's second largest city, as reported by the government. The stampede occurred on Sunday afternoon at the stadium during the final of a local tournament featuring the Labé and the Zérékoré teams, held in honor of Guinea's military leader Mamadi Doumbouya. The turmoil, according to sources, began when supporters of the visiting Lambe team protested a referee's decision, resulting in fans throwing stones. Reports equally say that the police deployed tear gas in an attempt to control the crowd, while the communication minister, Fana Suma, says investigations have been opened to establish those responsible for the stampede on Sunday. Elsewhere, on December 1st, Senegal commemorated the 80th anniversary of the massacre of African soldiers who fought for France during World War II. It should be recalled that in 1944, these soldiers were shot by French troops for demanding fair treatment and payment upon their return. The ceremony on Sunday was attended by France's foreign minister alongside other African heads of state and began with a visit to Touareg's military cemetery to lay flowers. However, the West African nation has long sought accountability from its former colonizer, urging an official apology and a proper investigation into the massacre that took place in Tiaouré, a fishing village on the outskirts of Dakar, Senegal's capital. This event, which renewed these demands, comes as France is losing influence over its former African colonies, many of which have turned to Russia for security.
And still in news out of Cameroon, Chad has breached the revised defense cooperation agreement with France on September 5, 2019, aimed at strengthening security and defense cooperation between the two nations. Cedric Chakuto met with an international affairs analyst who came back to what could be the cause and impact on Chad, a country which for some time now is witnessing some security instability.
Chad's government is ending a defense cooperation agreement with France, its former colonial ruler, to redefine the nation's sovereignty. The decision marks a historic turning point after the Central African nation gained independence more than 6 decades ago. To international affairs analysts, the decision to end the agreement will allow Chad to redefine its strategic partnerships in line with national priorities.
We Pan-Africanists, that's what we were yearning for since many years, and we have since 20 years been urging our fellow Africans, been calling all the leaders of the African countries to make sure that the military bases of France should be closed, and we are very happy that Chad took the space to close the military bases, and we are hopeful that they will follow what AES, the Alliance of Sahelian States, is doing, and we mostly hope that they will understand that it is much more efficient to do it together, to change the geography of our countries now.
Analysts say this breach of contract with France may have some consequences in the country. Déby has mistrusted France for a while, and the decision creates an opportunity for other nations, notably Russia and Turkey.
We are fearing the fact that you could see rebellions in Chad coming from nowhere all the time, maybe in the upcoming days. So we hope that, and we are sure that the government of Chad have analyzed this risk and have a clear response to all these risks. The second thing is that it is time for the new partners of Chad to really bring support to these African states. Because, let's say frankly, Chad, a very poor country, and the military power of Chad cannot be compared to France's military power.
Cedric Chakuto there reporting, and that report brings us to the end of the first part. The news talking point is up next. You don't go anywhere. Our guest tonight on Talking Point is Edmond Kuate. He is an economist. Thank you, Mr. Edmond, for accepting to be our guest on Talking Point tonight. Now, it's still making headline news. The proposed state finance bill, which has been tabled at the National Assembly, it has to be studied by the MPs at the National Assembly in Yaoundé. Now, MPs continue to protest against the huge delay by the Executive Committee of the National Assembly to present the budget. Mr. Edmond Kuate, could there be a hidden agenda behind this delay, which has been so much complained about?
Finally, you got to know that when we talk of financial law, it's mere provisions.
It's just a planifications. That's what the government is expecting. When they define the budget to be like what they have defined out to be like 7,000 billion, it doesn't mean they have this money in their safes. No, definitely no. This is money that's going to be collected gradually within the whole year, fiscal year. They are going to collect this money gradually and at time. If they say, for instance, the Minister of Education is going to have 500 billion, to operate, it might happen that along the way, they might not even make it available for the Minister of Education. And that's why I want to explain to people. When they say the budget of this year, of the new year of 2025, is going to be 7,000 billion CFA. Let people not get it wrong by thinking that this 7,000 billion is sitting somewhere in the safe, whereby they don't need to go and open the safe and then share and say, Minister X, you get this amount, Minister Y, you get this amount. No, this money that's going to be collected gradually using taxes, customs, and all the toll that the government is using to collect public resources. So and I agree with you that at time when you get the figures that is being allocated to a particular ministry, and at the end of the day you see what is being implemented in the field. Like for instance, if you see, the debate that's actually going on with our roads in the country. People are seeing the budget that has been allocated to the Ministry of Public Works. For instance, I think last year was 400 and something billion, and then at the end of the day we find out that all our roads, even roads in town, are saying there's a hidden agenda. When you say hidden agenda, it means it's something that is not clear. That means nobody knows exactly what is going on. But we can find some, we can reasonably find some reasons that can explain the delay. Normally, I think the main reason is the absence of the president out of the country. I think it's for more than 1 month, because normally the last segment before the bill is dropped at the National Assembly is the letter of the president, the letter of orientation of the president. But this letter is normally supposed to be out in between June and July normally. But this letter came out. The orientation letter from the President of the Republic came out in November. That's when he came back from his journey abroad. So I think, to my understanding, that's the main reason why the bill was dropped with a with this delay. But politically, they can say there is a hidden agenda, which is, some opinion, that is some political opinion, are thinking that maybe because the law is very complex, not very complex, due to the fact that the contents of the law is a bit tough. Some political opinion are thinking that maybe they don't want the MPs to be aware of the contents of the project. They don't want them to have time enough to elaborate, to go through it and find some certain things that are not really good for the population. These are political opinion. You can never put aside political opinions, because we are in politics. So we have to consider all the political. But me as a technocrat, I think the reason of this delay is simply because the president has been out of the country for some time, and then when he came back, they cannot drop the bill before the letter of orientation from the President of the Republic. And I'm sure he came back and he dropped that. He sent the letter out, and then these guys of the Ministry of Finance, they also had to elaborate the project and then drop it at the National Assembly.
However, Mr. Edmond Kouyaté, the MPs need ample time to study the proposed budget, reason it should be deposited 15 days or so before the session kicks off. Don't you think it's lateness, and it's late already, and the MPs might not be able to do the needful, which is also their responsibility towards the people they represent?
If they would not have time enough to study, to elaborate, definitely they would not have enough time to go through the law and see if I mean, the content is according to the, I mean, according to the expectation of the people, because they are the ones responsible toward the people who actually elected them, because they are the ones representing the population at the National Assembly. Therefore, they have to go through this law, they have to elaborate, they have to, you know, article upon article to make sure that the project, the bill, is according to the desiderata of the population. But now I agree that normally they, per law, according to the law, they are supposed to receive this bill at least 15 days before the session is opening. But now they are receiving it 10 days before the end, so they will not have enough time to elaborate. They will not even have time to go through it, because we are talking of a document of how many pages, maybe hundreds of pages. So how do you think this guy will go through it? How do you think they will have enough time to go through it and then to really find out, you know, what are the details and see the new laws and see the new financial laws to be able to explain to their population? They will not have time. That I totally agree with them. It's going to be very tough. They will not even have time to read 1 or 2 chapters of this financial law. And I have to recall that we are talking of the financial law, which is very complex too. At times, they don't even, some people might even read and not even understand. So they might even need to require some experts, you know, some extra expertise from various experts to really understand what is in the law. But they will not have time to do that. So it might appear at the end of the day that they will finally adopt a law that they haven't understood clearly.
And now this very quick question, Mr. Edmond Kwete. What are some of the consequences of MPs, especially those of the opposition? What are some of the consequences of them hurrying over the state's budget?
Definitely, the main consequence is that they are going to adopt a law that may not, I'm not really peremptory about that, but they are going to adopt a law that may not, you know, find the aspiration of the population. They are going to adopt, you know, a law that might jeopardize what the people are actually looking for. And the consequence is that 2025 might be very tough. People might find it very, very, very tough, you know. And this law, if MPs do not have time enough to really go through it, to elaborate really clearly, then the population might find it tough in 2025, because then definitely it's the MPs of the majority that are actually going to adopt it, and it will be the it will be the vision of the government, but not the vision of the population.
Now, can you briefly tell us the importance or significance of presenting the state budget to the National Assembly, and also its importance to the economic well-being of the state or the nation?
Finance bill is the guidance of the economic, of the economy as a whole in the country. The taxes, if there are some if there are some incitations, everything, that is the guidance. So it has to be well elaborated by the MPs, who are, like I said, who are those representing the population. So they have to say what are the expectations of the population. They have to go through it and make sure that this bill is as per the aspiration of the population. Because it's the guidance, like I said. Without the financial law, there is nothing. It's there that they define how they are going to invest. It's there that they define how the state is going to spend, the expenditure of the state, the investment of the state, if we are going to borrow money, how we are going to honor our debt service. Everything is contained in that financial law. So that is the whole economy of the nation. So it normally has to be well studied by the MPs to make sure it is in accordance with what the populations want for the day in, day out economy of the country.
Now, before we go, Edmond, let's now try to link the state budget and the economic plan for 2025, which was presented also by the Prime Minister at the National Assembly last weekend. We noticed that certain priority sectors like health, education, water and energy have huge budgets worth several billions of francs CFA for next year's projects. But some opinions think it doesn't tie with the concretization of projects on the field. What's your take on that?
Finally, you got to know that when we talk of financial law, it's mere provisions. It's just planifications. That's what the government is expecting. When they define the budget to be like what they have defined out to be like 7,000 billion, it doesn't mean they have this money in their safes. No, definitely no. This is money that's going to be collected gradually within the whole year, fiscal year. They are going to collect this money gradually and at time. If they say, for instance, the Minister of Education is going to have 500 billion, to operate, it might happen that along the way, they might not even make it available for the Minister of Education. And that's why I want to explain to people. When they say the budget of this year, of the new year of 2025, is going to be 7,000 billion CFA. Let people not get it wrong by thinking that this 7,000 billion is sitting somewhere in the safe, whereby they don't need to go and open the safe and then share and say, Minister X, you get this amount, Minister Y, you get this amount. No, this money that's going to be collected gradually using taxes, customs, and all the toll that the government is using to collect public resources. So and I agree with you that at time when you get the figures that is being allocated to a particular ministry, and at the end of the day you see what is being implemented in the field. Like for instance, if you see, you know the debate that's actually going on with our roads in the country. People are seeing the budget that has been allocated to the Ministry of Public Works. For instance, I think last year was 400 and something billion, and then at the end of the day we find out that all our roads, even roads in town, are completely destroyed. And then the question is, why don't this ministry use this budget actually to maintain the road or to build new roads? So that is the question people got. But they have to understand that these things at times they are very complex. I'm not here trying to defend anybody, but we all know that there is a problem of governance in our country, not only this year, but we all know that there's a problem of governance in our country. But what we got to understand is that at the end of the day, there will always be a kind of contract, because when you hear a certain figure, 400 billion, 500 billion allocated to a particular ministry, and at the end of the day, you try to find out what they have used this money to actually implement. You find nothing. It is very, very complex. I want to say it again. Like I said, at the end of the day, you got to make sure they have really put this this budget at the disposal of the ministry. That's why we always tell the government to make sure they publish what they call loi de règlement. That is the law that actually show what they have done last year with the budget that they did. That is what we are asking them, for them to justify themselves. If a ministry, say for instance, for last year, my budget was 500 million. But at the end of the day, I only received 200 million or maybe less. Then people will understand that at the end of the day, it's not your fault if you haven't been able to implement one or two things. People will understand it's not your fault. But if actually you've received 500 billion, you get to tell us, to explain to us that this is what I've used the money for. This is what the money has been used for. And then people will understand. So that is it.
Thank you so much, Edmond Kouyaté, for always answering presents to our invitation. And viewers, thank you so much also for always being there, and wish you all a beautiful month of December. Our programs continue. Equinoxe Soir comes up in about 30 minutes live from Yaoundé with Serge Alongotou, and Julien Bedbisai will be with you in the studio for the news in the French language. That would be at 8 p.m. Stay with us on Equinoxe Television. See you again tomorrow. God willing, same time. Bye-bye for now.